Hi, this is Hannah Gilman from 13paradigms.com, where we teach you that when you change your thoughts, you change your life. Welcome to my new e-zine newsletter. I have to veer off course. This is not what I expected to talk about on my first video, but I must tell you a personal story. At 13paradigms.com, we teach you a lot of material. There's 13 paradigms. And one of the things I want to tell you about is, do you play the blame and complain game? So this is a true story that happened to my son and I. My oldest son lives in Israel, and he came for 3 weeks to spend it here for his summer vacation. We did his tickets 2 months before he traveled, and he had to leave here to go. He's gone to another state to study for 1 month before he returns to Israel. Now, the day before he was supposed to leave, we said to each other, okay, you're leaving tomorrow. What time is the flight? Yes, 11:20. Okay, we'll go to the airport at 9:30. That night he asked me, would I please print his ticket, which I did. At 9:30 in the morning, on the day he was leaving, he looked at the ticket and he said, my flight was at 9:20. We just stared at each other. We said, okay, we'll go to the airport. We got in the airport. We got in the car on the way to the airport. We laughed the whole way, saying what schlemiels we are. We got to the ticket counter at the airport. We asked the lady if there was a seat for the 11:20 flight. She said, but he was scheduled for 9:20. We said, you're right. She looked in the computer, and all of a sudden she jumps back and says, oh, this is his lucky day. We said, why? She said, because the 9:20 flight, which took off, has mechanical problems, and it's on its way back to our airport. And the people on that flight were going to have to sit in the plane the entire time while they fixed the problem, or in the airport until they could take off later that night. My son got on the 11:20 flight, had his whole day at his destination, and not once did we accuse each other of why didn't you look at the ticket. It was amazing. I want to tell you a different story. This is how it could have gone. My oldest son lives in Israel, and he came for 3 weeks of his summer vacation. We made his ticket 2 months ago, and the day before he was to fly to another state where he's studying for 1 month, we both agreed that his flight was at 11:20 and we would leave for the airport at 9:30. At 9:30 in the morning, as we're walking out the door, he looks at his ticket and says, my ticket was for 9:20. I could have turned to my son and said, what, are you crazy? You didn't check your ticket? How irresponsible. I've been traveling my entire adult life. I've never missed one flight. You're 21 years old. When are you going to learn how to be responsible? And my son could have looked at me and said, what? I'm the problem? You printed the ticket. You couldn't even look at it to help your son out? We drove to the airport. We didn't speak to each other. He made the next flight, and we haven't spoken to each other since. How does it go for you? Do you play the blame and complain game? I'm a very spiritual person, and I have to tell you that I believe whatever energy we put out is the energy we get back. I can't tell you if you stop blaming and complaining what will happen in your life, but I know that my son and I did some very wonderful things with each other on the day he flew. Not once did we say to each other, why didn't you? Not once. We laughed, we enjoyed it, we said okay, and he made his flight. There's no guarantees, but I'm telling you, cut the blaming, cut the complaining. It will change everything in your relationships. You might even see some miracles. Isn't this great? It was a true story. This is Hannah Gilman from 13paradigms.com, where we teach you that when you change your thoughts, you change your life. Bye-bye.